What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Rideshare Hub. My name's Greg Wave. I'm really excited about this video I have for you guys today because I'm going to share you guys an age-old secret that some of my friends who are Uber drivers, we've had just crazy success with this strategy to the point where a lot of times we're making 70 plus an hour when we're implementing the strategy. A lot of times 50 plus an hour, but this is one of the most killer strategies you guys can use as Uber drivers, and I don't actually believe there's too many people that are really doing this. So I wanted to share it and give you guys a chance to make some really good money, provided it's the right time. Just as a disclosure, this is a surge strategy, so let's really think about when it's actually applicable. It's more than likely Fridays, Saturdays, game days, concerts, things like this. But once you know this, you're going to want to start looking out for things like this so you can implement the strategy. So basically, a while back, my buddies and I have a few friends that we all drive Uber, and we would joke that we called ourselves the Uber fleet because it started out with just a good friend of mine, and then we started recruiting our friends. And then eventually we had like 6-7 guys that would be going out, and we would call each other in between rides. So I say all that because we developed this funny little thing called surge chasing, where whenever there would be a big surge, we would call each other and be like, hey, are you heading towards this area? It's surging, get over there. And we even got to the point where we were like joking that we wanted to make a TV show called Surge Chasers and just totally make fun of Uber drivers and how they surge chase the way storm chasers do. Ha ha ha. There's a reason we never did it. So, but what we started doing is when we would see a certain surge, we would head towards it, and we'd always try and gauge, like, is it worth going to? Is it not worth going to? You know, because a lot of times it's just going to disappear. But if it would be big enough, what we started doing is we would set a destination trip, and we would set the destination for like right in the middle of the surge. And then what would happen is then you're driving into that surge, and you might only be in the $1 zone, but you're not going to get a ride request because if there's a surge and it's going crazy in there, like if it's a concert letting out, no one's going to be going to the concert venue. Maybe they're going to like a McDonald's that's right next door, but I have never gotten that unlucky to where that happened. And honestly, even that's not the end of the world, because all you're doing is picking up a smaller surge more than likely and taking it into the heart of the storm. So what I would usually do, and this is the best way to do it, this is the way we were doing it, and I mean, it changes how much money I make on weekends. And I'm going to show you guys a ride I actually did this for, but I wanted to share with you the strategy of how it works. So when you see a giant surge, what you're going to want to do is, again, set your destination for right in the middle of it. And then here's what happens a lot of times if there's a surge that big is it's a concert, a game, and there's a pickup area, and to be honest, it takes a lot of times over an hour to give that ride because of how much traffic there will be. So what I do is I find a highway or a main road that's not gonna be like at that venue where it's letting out, but it's gonna go almost right over it or right to the left of it, right to the right of it, right below it. So you have that surge, you have that destination set so that you don't get any little dinky few dollar rides, or you don't just get, you know, half of the surge amount because you didn't make it to the center. And so what happens is you drive right through it, you pick up that surge amount. So let's say it was a $12 surge, you know, a pretty high dollar amount. You'll drive through that, you'll pick it up, and then you just keep going. You don't put up with any of the BS, any of the traffic, any of it. And then what I do is then I go to, once there's a point where I feel like I'm not like really like in it anymore, where I won't hit any traffic, I then turn the app off. Now you got to be pretty far out, because a lot of times what will happen is there will be enough rides that even a lot of times if you're 7 to 8 minutes out from the middle of the surge, you might still get a ride request for right in the middle of it if those events are big enough, right? So I try to get like you know, 5-6 minutes outside of the surge, usually to an area where I think I'll probably still get another ride, and then I'll take the destination off and I have that $10 to $12 surge or whatever it was. So then what happens is then I pick someone up at you know, a McDonald's or something. Bummer for them, unfortunately. And I give a really high surge ride. And a lot of times, if I'm close enough, I can then dip back in and get one more surge ride before it goes away. Sometimes multiple times if my ride never takes me too far. But if you're really lucky, what happens, and this is how we would end up really hitting some crazy numbers just in like 2 hours, is you'll give a long distance ride. And so you get that surge rate, and then I don't know how Uber does the calculation for this, but everybody knows that if you give a long distance ride on a high enough surge, you don't just get that surge number on top of the ride, you get like a multiplier. So it gets like multiplied for each mile or something, and you'll give like 150, 60, 70, 80, whatever, just a really high dollar amount rides. So I'm gonna show you guys this screenshot right now. This was a ride I did last weekend. So $75. It took me about 51 minutes. I did hit a little bit of traffic on this one getting out of it because as you can see, it was only 26 minutes, but I didn't hit the bulk traffic from this event. If I remember correctly, this was a Dave Matthews concert, and I've driven for Dave Matthews concerts in 3 different cities, and he tears it up. If you guys know that Dave Matthews is in town, like, you need to be Ubering because he's always going to give you like a crazy surge rate, right? So it took me about 51 minutes to do the ride, $75, so $75 an hour is just killer, right? And the actual surge amount from this was $51. I picked up an $8 surge, but because it was a long distance ride, I got credited for like a $51 surge basically. I was so freaking stoked about it. I'm going to tell you guys some other ones. I've done this for, what I've a lot of times done, another strategy I've had to really mop up in the surge hours is not going to the center of the storm, but cruising through and picking up $5 surges, like little mini ones, and I'll end up giving like 5 or 6 $5 surge rides in like an hour and a half versus going to the center of the storm to wait for like an hour to pick up your passenger from the concert or whatever it is because you can't even find them. And a lot of times you do all that and they only go 2 miles away. So another like good thing I'm going to talk about in this video is you got to be really careful with some of these surges, because if you're going right into the thick of it, there's a lot of times you're going to get stuck of it and it might pay off. You might get a 30-mile ride that ends up being $100. But a lot of times people park their cars a mile away, and there's a lot of people that still don't mind driving drunk, and you're just Ubering them to their car, and you know, yeah, you'll make an extra $12 on that $3 ride, but guess what? You didn't even make 20 an hour. So you got to be careful because you can lose out on a lot of these rides if you're not careful. So the best way to do it, I think, is to either, like I was saying, swoop through and grab those $3 to $7 ones that are just on the outskirts versus the 12 to 15 in the middle, and just doing those quick rides just on the outskirts, staying away from the storm, or implement my destination trip. Now remember, you're only going to get 2 of these a day, so I'm not using this on a $4 surge. I'm using this on a $10 plus surge, and I only use it if I'm within 10 minutes of it. If I'm 20 minutes away, I'm not going to set a destination all the way there, because first of all, I'll probably get a destination ride. That'll add 10 minutes of pickup and drop off time, almost guaranteeing I'm going to lose the surge, you know, because you can't really decline those, you know, you kind of have to take them. So the best way, I think, is like I was saying, set that surge, go through the middle of it on a highway. If your city's set up the right way, there's a lot of areas that will have a freeway or a bigger road that you won't hit any traffic and you'll go right over it or right to the side of it. You might not always be able to get right to the thick of it, but if you're getting in like the $9 range, you're going to give a good ride almost regardless of where it's going. Or like I said, do those $4 to $3 ones and just stick on the outskirts and bust out like 5 to 10 of them. But the one thing I can guarantee you guys is that 9 times out of 10, when I have those big surges, I'm usually not getting a ride that was all that worthwhile if I have to sit and wait in the concert line, the venue line, whatever it is. So the best thing you guys can do in these scenarios is, set that destination, cruise through, get it, and then turn it off. Another thing is, this is usually a strategy that's better at night because you do want to save your destination trips if you use them a lot. I do, because I usually end up 40 minutes from home, so I like having that destination for the end of the day rides, and I'll give like 3-4 rides on the way home for an extra 15-30 bucks, you know. So I always try to keep one, but if it's a big enough surge, I obviously don't care. But keep that in mind. You only have 2, so don't use them at 3 to 7 p.m. Use them anywhere from 11 to 2 a.m. if it's weekend driving, because the better surge will always be later in the night. The concerts letting out, the bars letting out, versus you know, just the little piddly $4 to $5 surges that go on usually throughout the earlier parts of the day. This also works very well with bar rush. I a lot of times hate picking up just sometimes the crowd that comes with like the people that are let out right as the bar's out. A lot of times I'm like, I don't want to deal with these people. So I pick up the surge on a destination. I'll go 10 minutes away to where I'm probably just going to get someone who is just at a friend's house, and then I take them home on a $10 surge or whatever it is. So that's what I got for you guys. That's my surge strategy video, as well as what I like to say, my $70 an hour miracle video, whatever you want to call it. But this works very, very well. This is something I still to this day do. And there's usually 2 to 3 hours of every weekend day that I drive that I average 50 plus per hour because I use these strategies. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel. Got a lot more content coming your way, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week.